Welcome to the Tap Into Your Inner Wisdom, Break the Spell of Limiting Mindsets webinar. I'm Sheila Bélanger, your host and guide, and thanks so much for joining me now today. So I want to begin with a quote from Deepak Chopra. One of the keys to harnessing the potentially unlimited power of the mind is to expand your level of self-awareness. So let's support you to expand your self-awareness as we travel together in this webinar. So here's some of the ways I hope the webinar will serve you. Learn how you go under the spells of your strategic mind and its limited mindsets. Recognize the 4 wisdom ways of knowing that you innately carry and how to cultivate them. Acknowledge that amidst so much inner and outer change, you need to develop an expanded mindset during these times. And learn an easy experiential mindset practice to tap into your inner wisdom. So here's the flow of the webinar for the next 50 minutes. We're going to look at the connection between your strategic mind and wounded inner figures and what happens as they get connected with each other. And I'm going to introduce you or reintroduce you to your 4 wisdom ways of knowing, which are amazing. And we can look at how to shift common sabotaging mindsets or spells that we go under. And I'm going to offer you an experiential practice to access your inner wisdom with the wisdom ways of knowing. And then I'm going to give you a PDF with lots of resources to continue your inner wisdom journey. And we'll finish with the Q&A. Okay, so that's what we're going. And with the Q&A, I'll do it at the end. You can put questions in as we go. I'll try to go back and find them. But if you can hold them to the Q&A time, that would be really great. So thanks so much. So who am I? I'm Sheila Bélanger. I'm a strategic transformation coach. And as a certified coach, I use a process-oriented approach to guide you at the edge, the place where your past and future selves meet. Now, for over 38 years, through many different roles and hats I've worn, I've effectively translated consciousness shifting practices into life-changing ways for thousands of grateful students and clients. I've got a couple of wonderful folks in this live webinar that are in my private Vibes community, which is a special community for people dedicated to their inner work and empowering themselves as intuitive visionaries. And I love helping my people to shift their consciousness. So I want to offer you some threshold moments. Even though this is a webinar and I'm not seeing you, you might be seeing this live, you might be seeing this as a replay, I still invite you to do this. It's a really powerful practice to have. I want you to prepare for the journey of this webinar by doing a couple things. I've done lots of webinars as a participant. I know the gig. You got a bunch of tabs open and you're multitasking like crazy. Well, guess what? I want to invite you to turn off the other devices and tabs and to create yourself a really supportive personal space. Have a journal or sketch pad nearby or a device to take notes if you want, because you might find some reflection pieces or your experiential journey brings up some things you'd like to remember. And recognize that everything I'm offering you in this webinar is choice-based. If it does not feel right to you, don't do it. Please take care of yourself. So first, let's start. Just pause and take 3 deep breaths, okay? Now, sit up nice and straight, or you might be standing as you're looking at this through your device. Like to roll your shoulders, sit down a little bit, stand up a little bit. And I invite you, if you're willing, close your eyes and take 3 deep cleansing breaths, just like breathing in fully and then exhaling. Breathing in and exhaling. And one more time, breathing in and exhaling. Beautiful. Now, I like to practice the 3 C's of online community: confidentiality, courage, and compassion. And even though you don't see any of the participants in the live webinar, we still are sharing a time together. And I'm going to give you the option, again, choice-based, in the chat. You can put some reflections or noticings that are happening for you through your journey or your process. And if that happens, we want to make sure we have a very safe container so people feel okay sharing something. So what confidentiality means is that anything people share in this webinar live that you see in the chat, that belongs to them. And you commit to holding it in your heart and not taking it anyplace else. If you choose to share, people will do the same, to respect your confidentiality and your boundaries. So could I have a yes from the live webinar attendees in the chat? I agree to confidentiality. Oh yeah, baby. You got it. Thumbs up, whatever you want to do. Let's see that going. There we go. Yes, yes, yes. Here they come. Thank you. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. We have a beautiful container for all of us. Thank you so much, everybody. Yes. Okay. And then the second one, courage. It takes tremendous courage to do inner work, to really do some self-awareness. Thank you for the big yeses, people. And to really be tracking, looking inward. Because it's easy to just get distracted or to get into an addictive process, to go to your device and say later, next lifetime. Please don't do that. It's like self-awareness is so powerful and important. And then compassion, deep compassion for yourself, whatever stage you're in, whatever mood you're in, whatever's going on inside of you, welcome. Great self-compassion. So I invite you, nobody can see you, you can see me. Take a moment to make a gesture of profound self-compassion. It might be a big hug to yourself. It might be like, oh, baby, I just love you. It's good. You got this, okay? Someplace touching your heart. Yeah, profound self-compassion. This being human is a tough job, especially in these times. So thank you for giving me the precious gift of your life energy for however long you're going to stay with me in the webinar. Okay, so there's a threshold moment for you, or a couple of moments. So thank you for that. Now I'm going to give you a really simple experiential threshold practice, because if you're like me, sometimes I come into a webinar. I've just had a million things going on. I just got off a call with a client or a group, or something's going on, or I stuffed some food into my mouth and I said, okay, I'm here. So let's slow down and get grounded. Again, this is choice-based. It's a very simple practice, and it is powerful as a way to change your mindset and to really help you get grounded. So what it is a simple patting practice with your body. Again, choice-based. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. If you want to pat, not touching your body and just go around, that's fine. But patting your body is really great. I invite you to either stand up, or if you're sitting, make sure you have lots of space. And I'm going to invite you to start at your head and gently pat your head. Actually, let's start at your feet. That's a better way to go. So I'm going to stand up for you. You can't see all of me, but I'm going to go down and pat, pat, pat my legs. Okay. Pat, 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 pat my legs. Pat, 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 up my calves, up my knees, up my thighs. Pat, 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 pat. Just do this. Pat, 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 pat. You're waking up your body. You're getting grounded. Pat, pat, pat. Shake if you want. Pat, pat, pat. Get to your tummy if you want, your buttocks. Whatever doesn't feel comfortable, don't do it. Okay, your belly, go into your chest area, your arms, pat, 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 your shoulders, your back, pat, 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 pat. We'll sit back down. Your head, your beautiful head, pat, 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 pat. And then give a little shake, just and make some sound if you can. You might be in a place where the people are, but if you can, just like, okay, then. How was that, people? You want to give me a thumbs up, or do you feel a little bit more in your body now? Can you feel it? It's like you get a rush of energy. It's just a very simple practice to help you get back in your body. So I hope that helps, and I hope you feel a little bit more grounded and present. You can always use that practice at any time. I use it as a threshold practice, because a threshold is when you're moving from one space or place of consciousness to another. And so it's a way to help you get ready to come into the main material of the webinar with me. Pardon my voice, probably one of the reasons you couldn't hear me earlier. I'm working with a cold, but I think you can hear me okay, and you'll let me know in the chat if you can. So thanks for doing that threshold practice. Now, going into some of the key material of this webinar, all of us can feel so trapped by the limiting habitual mindsets of I can feel by your strategic mind when you're at the edge of personal inner changes. Now, inner edges are so challenging, because at these edges, you know that your old life and identities are over, but you do not yet know who you are becoming nor where you're going. And these crazy, tumultuous times are so edgy for everybody. There's no more normal, even though currently when I'm doing this webinar, at least in the States, people are being able to be connected again without masks, but it's not normal. We're at deep inner edges inside and collectively. Now, in the midst of so much tumultuous challenges where our societies are at collective edges of change, you need to develop an expanded mindset to help you navigate these inner and outer edges. You need a way to access more of your innate wisdom so you can free yourself from the limiting mindsets of your strategic mind, which gets triggered by challenging changes. Your strategic mind is a primitive binary focused part of you that tries to keep you safe from danger. We all have it. It gets created when we're very young, and it's pretty necessary sometimes when we're quite young. It's constantly assessing your life situations to figure out where danger is, what's okay to do, what's not okay to do. It's very binary. Yes, no, go, stop, good, bad. And you can feel it. It's like, it's just like you're constantly tracking. No, don't do this, do this. And it's crazy making. And it's like we're caught in the superficial part of our mind. And particularly if something has triggered fear or we're really challenged, it's like, it's that. And again, this part of us is necessary, but it's way taken over our consciousness. So we don't even get into our depths. We're just constantly in that binary process. But you know what? Binary is for computers, not for complex, multidimensional humans like you and me. And like many of us, your wounded inner figures get twisted up with mental fear, anxiety, and painful stories from your past. They perpetuate a limiting, toxic smallness mindset. And we all have wounded inner figures. There's no blame, there's no shame on that. And they often hold us hostage. They take us under a spell with their old stories and their rondo of everything from the past that they keep engaging us with. Your wounded inner figures usually try to control you with restrictive self-talk, punitive inner mantras, and dramatic fear stories. We all know what that feels like. And sometimes we feel like we're just in a cage, we just can't get out. Now, their main territory of control is in your strategic mind. It's as if you've trapped your mind and said, constantly, you can't get anything else in there because you're in this constant reactive place. And that strategic mind, again, is necessary, but it's a limited version of yourself. Now, here's some common sabotaging mindset spells that come from your wounded inner figures. And again, I want to say this is for all of us. This is common because we live in very traumatic times. And sometimes we are still healing from personal trauma, collective trauma, ancestral trauma. And we get these mindset spells that sabotage our ability to really grow and be who we are. Here are 4 common ones. Disassociate and check out. Gone. Get angry and rageful. So angry. Be hopeless and shut down. Why bother? Get caught in a toxic smallness story, which often is like an inner critic. You can't do this. You're not good enough. You're not supposed to. Don't shut up. All that. Okay. These are common spells. There's many more, but these are very common ones that many people relate to. Now, do they sound familiar? Okay. So I'm going to invite you in the chat only if you want to. One of these 4, do you have a go-to spell, mindset spell? You notice, that's what I often do when my wounded inner figures got me, Sheila. I get angry and rageful. I get hopeless and shut down. So I invite you, those who are live, if you want to go ahead and put in the chat. Again, it's choice-based, and this is a space of confidentiality. You can let us know. Do you recognize any of these? Are these ones that spells that you go, yeah, I understand what this one is about. So I'll give a moment in case anybody wants to share it. If you don't, that's totally fine. Yeah, toxic smallness. I know that one. That's one of my go-tos. That and disassociate and check out. Sometimes I pinball back and forth between them. So yeah. Why the hell bother? Exactly. Yep. I feel all of them too. Thank you for that. Yeah. It's good to know. One of the things that I have a signature online course called the Transformation Journey Roadmap, and it has 6 stages for helping you go through a transformation journey. And stage 1 is track your inner figures. And this is really deep work, what you're doing right now, just with this simple question. It's like, what is that spell that I go under? You're tracking some of those inner figures. So thank you all for being willing to share that. So now you are so much more than you think you are, especially who your strategic mind thinks you are. Oh, so much more. You carry an expanded mindset in your 4 wisdom ways of knowing. Now, here's your 4 primary wisdom ways of knowing. You have many, but these are really core ones. Your senses wisdom, your feelings wisdom, your imagination wisdom, and your mental, we often call it deep mental or deep thinking. Knowing. I'm going to go into each of these in a moment. Now, you can use your 4 wisdom ways of knowing to expand your awareness beyond your strategic mind to access your inner wisdom. The 4 wisdom ways of knowing are like wisdom windows through which you perceive your world. It's like I can see, I perceive, I recognize through these places of wisdom, innate wisdom within you. So there's the sensing window. It's full present sensing. You're in your body. One of the reasons I gave you the pat your body grounding threshold practice is it's a way to get connected to your senses. You wake your senses up. You wake your body up. What do your body and senses know? Like such a powerful thing is, what does my body know right now? Just like slow down, check in, sense what's going on in your body. It's your sensing window. Your feeling window. This is full-bodied feeling. What do your feelings and heart know? Often when I'm working with my people with these wisdom ways of knowing, I'll say, touch your heart and ask, what does my heart know? What do I feel right now? And try not to judge whatever feeling's present. One of our people said, and they were feeling sorry for themselves as they came in on the live webinar, that's important truth. What is in your feeling window? What is a perception you carry from your heart, from your feelings? It's a deep wisdom. Your imagination wisdom. We call it your deep imagination. What does your imagination know? And this comes from your inner imagery. So people often say, I'm not imaginative, or you remember in our culture, denigrate it, like it's just your imagination, you're just making that up. How many of us as kids were told, no, your imaginary friend does not exist. That's not true. Our imagination wisdom, our window of perception through our imagery is profound. And you have it all the time. When you have a memory that comes unbidden, that's your imagery. If you were to close your eyes and you start seeing things inside, that's your imagination. Or if you can vision and dream something beyond your everyday life, that's your imagination. It's a place of profound wisdom. Your deep imagination, what does it know? And then there's the thinking window, heart-centered thinking. This is not the strategic mind, which is more the superficial, binary, crazy hamster cage. Blah, blah. It's like a centered thinking. What does your deep thinking know? It's like the part of you that has insight, perception. Often we feel quieter and calmer, and we just kind of like, oh, I kind of get it. Light bulb goes off, or you have an insight, or you connect the dots. You can see a bigger pattern of things. That's your deep thinking, your heart-centered thinking. It's a way of perceiving through that window of wisdom, the thinking window. What does your deep thinking know? So you can use these 4 wisdom ways of knowing to shift limiting mindset spells. Again, this is innately within you, your inner wisdom. So remember these common sabotaging mindset spells. I just mentioned them to you about these 4: disassociate and get check out, get angry and rageful, be hopeless and shut down, get caught in a toxic smallness story. Now, let's look at our wisdom, our innate wisdom with the 4 ways of winding, 4 ways of knowing. So if the limited mindset spell is disassociate and check out, if any of you connect with that one, you can use any of the windows of wisdom, any of the ways of knowing, but particularly the senses way of knowing is a great inner wisdom resource. So if you're tracking yourself, I'm checking out, I'm disassociating, I'm gone, get grounded in your body and your senses. You can try that patting your body exercise. Go outside and touch something in nature. Smell a flower, or just brush your body, go take a hot bath. Get alive with your senses. Get grounded in your body and senses. It's an amazing resource to help shift the spell of disassociation. If you notice that the limited mindset spell is to get angry and rageful, well, recognize really what's usually underneath anger and rage is fear and hurt. And what happens is we don't want to get vulnerable with our own pain. So we're just going to get angry instead. So if you are really noticing, I get angry a lot, or it's my go-to place, it's a spell I go under, the feelings way of knowing, or the window of wisdom of feelings, is a tremendous resource for you, because you can ask and support yourself to feel and express in a healthy way the hurt that's underneath the anger. What that might look like is you notice, God, I'm so pissed off. You say, okay, what if I take a couple minutes privately? I breathe, I'm quiet with myself, and I tenderly just ask, what's underneath the anger? What feeling is there? What am I really angry about? What's really hurting for me? And can you be compassionate and tender with yourself and say, wow, I just really need to grieve. My anger was masking the profound grief I have. And if you can find healthy and supportive ways to do that. So the feelings way of wisdom can be a tremendous resource when you get really caught in a spell of anger and rage. And then if the spell of being hopeless and shut down, which can be really easy to go to this spell in these times, you can work with your imagination way of knowing as a resource. Because when we get hopeless and shut down, it's like, someone said, why bother? Why the hell bother? There's like nothing in you that says there's going to be anything else. It's just going to be this hopeless or difficult situation I'm in. Well, your imagination way of knowing, your imagery, can help you connect to your capacity to vision and imagine expansive and healing options for your life. It's like you're caught in that hopelessness. Again, some form of self-care, hugging yourself, breathing, meditation. And then you could gently ask, I know I feel hopeless right now, but is there any possibility of a different path? What if I were to imagine there's another way to be? Or what if I was to imagine an option that would let me get out of hopelessness and move me forward? It could be something like that. Okay, and then if that limited mindset spell you notice is you get caught in a toxic smallness story, this is, again, really prevalent in our colonized culture. That inner critic is always up there whispering to us constantly how we're not good enough, trying to make us small, trying to limit us, trying to shut us up. Who do you think you are? Oh, it's toxic. It's just a rondo of toxic smallness story. When you get caught with that, sometimes your deep thinking way of knowing can be really, really powerful as a resource. Connect to your capacity to see a bigger picture and track the larger patterns of change in your life. Now, I recognize saying this to you in a simple webinar. Yeah, easier said than done, Sheila. But I want to note something here. The deep thinking part of us, we can't access it usually in everyday consciousness if we're caught in the strategic mind. So you need to do something to shift your consciousness. It can be that grounding, patting your body down. It can be 5 minutes of mindfulness meditation. It can be going outside and breathing the air and touching the earth if you can. But some way that you calm yourself down and you bring your mental energy into your heart. You breathe maybe 3 deep breaths and you just get yourself calmer and tap more into that heart thinking, that deep thinking, and say with this constant smallness, you know what? I know I'm bigger than this. I know you can think about the big, vast arc of your life. You can think about the big patterns of change you've been through. And in the past, you can remember mentally, when I got caught before being so critical of myself or caught in toxic smallness, this is what I did. Or remember what happened. So you can use your mind as medicine to actually break some of this toxic spell, the smallness spell. So these are ways that your wisdom ways of knowing or your windows of wisdom can support you to break limited mindset spells. Okay, so I'm going to pause here. I'm about to offer you an experiential journey. Again, everything's choice-based. As I said in the beginning, you don't need to do this or in the middle of the journey. If you don't want to do it anymore, you just come out. It's going to be a guided journey that I'll give you with your eyes closed. Have your journals and notepads next to you. And just let yourself take a moment to breathe. I'm going to check the chat and see. Yeah. Yes. One of our people was just saying, I've broken through the rage and anger. This is in the live webinar. Now I float facing the grief, but frozen in fear of falling to pieces. This is so So, so feel for you. I want to grieve. I need to grieve. How? I want to speak to that right now, just because it's such a potent question, is to be able to find a way safely to let you cry. And so making a safe space, a very effective technique, if you can do this, comes from the First Nation peoples of the Pacific Northwest of the United States, the Coast Salish peoples. They would find a place in nature where they felt permission from the earth, and they would dig a hole in the earth. They would lay on their bellies with their head in the hole, and they would just grieve into the earth. Mother Earth would hold them. They would just give their tears, their snot, just their agony, their cries, being held by the earth and giving it to Mother Earth as a way to transmute it. You can also find a place where there's a lot of wind, and you can let yourself be cleansed off. You can let the wind take the grief. So you're emoting and you're being with it. I just want to answer that question now because it's so pertinent, and I appreciate you, the person who's in our live webinar who asked that. Okay, so in this journey, experiential journey, I'm going to invite you to move your body. If you're willing, you don't have to. And if you've not done a guided journey before, imagery journey, just trust whatever happens. I always say just the intention of you going into the journey is enough. Even if nothing happens, you don't experience anything, you don't see anything, totally fine. Just the fact that you're willing to do it is so important. Okay, so this is a wonderful experiential way to access your inner wisdom. So I want to invite everyone to begin with getting really comfortable. You can be standing or sitting or lying down. Invite you to do some threshold work again. Maybe stretch your body a bit, roll your shoulders. Take a couple of nice, deep centering breaths in your own rhythm, just breathing deeply in. Feel your feet on the earth. Exhale. And you might feel the next breath, you're bringing in the breath from the earth, grounding you. Bring the good energy of the earth into your body, and then exhale. And then one more time, a nice deep breath in, and then let it go. So beginning in a comfortable place, I invite you to gently close your eyes and let yourself be in stillness. Just let yourself rest in stillness for a moment. And then notice if there's any spontaneous movement occurring in your body. There might not be, but sometimes people notice, I'm kind of moving back and forth, or one of my fingers is moving, or my feet are tapping, or I'm swaying. Don't force it. Just notice any spontaneous movement that's already happening in your body. And as you notice that, gently amplify that. That means you just do it a little bit more, keeping your eyes closed. So for example, if you notice yourself gently swaying, amplify and make that swaying happen a little bit more. Or if there's something happening with your hand as a very, very subtle gesture, make it a little bit bigger, keeping your eyes closed, and just let yourself amplify whatever gesture or movement is already occurring in your body. Now, as you're doing this movement, with your eyes closed, bring to your heart a question or an issue that's currently present in your life. It could be very simple, or it might be something deep. But trust your heart. Just bring forward a question or a theme that is present that you want to explore more, that you'd like to bring your inner wisdom to. Don't let your inner critic criticize you. Just trust whatever is in. You can touch your heart and just say, what would I like to explore right now? And then just be quiet with your eyes closed and notice what happens. You're still moving your body in a way that feels comfortable. And then as a question or an issue or a point in your life is emerging, acknowledge it. Yes, I'd like to explore a little bit more about this. And then symbolically put it in your back pocket. So you've acknowledged it, now put it behind you. It's like it's in your back pocket, it's still with you, but you don't need to worry about it. Okay, and then take a nice deep breath, and as you exhale, in the gentle movement that is going on for your body, again, could be very subtle, or it could be very big, whatever feels comfortable with your eyes closed. Notice first the wisdom in your body. And what I mean by that is what's happening in your body. In addition to the movement, is there any sensation? Is there anything at all that's happening? Maybe it's a gesture that you want to just notice. Your eyes are closed and you're just being with what your body knows, what you perceive with senses, or the movement that your body naturally wants to make right now. Eyes closed, just trust what's happening. Don't force anything. And any part of you that wants to comment on it and criticize it, just blow them a kiss and say, you're not needed right now. Go take a break. Just trusting whatever's there, including nothing, because you're moving your body so you're in touch with your body wisdom. Now, gently take a breath with your eyes closed as you exhale. Bring your attention to your heart and your feelings and notice any emotions that are present. And if you find yourself getting overwhelmed or the emotion is too big, then gently modify it. Keep breathing, getting back into your body. Just be present to whatever feelings are there for you. Sometimes it's helpful to touch your heart. What's the truth in your heart? What do your feelings know right now? What's present? Don't push any away if you can. Just, yeah, this is present. I feel this. And just spend a little bit of time with the eyes closed, breathing. Yep, this is the wisdom of my heart right now. This is what's present in my feelings. Keep your eyes closed and keep trusting yourself. Thank you. Now, keeping your eyes closed again, take a nice gentle breath. And as you exhale, focus your awareness on your imagination or your imagery. What this can mean with your eyes closed. Are you seeing anything? Are you hearing anything beyond my voice? Is a memory arising unbidden? Or you imagining, envisioning something, or nothing at all may be happening, but keeping your eyes closed and just spend some time honoring your imagination or your imagery. Trusting whatever is present for you. Okay, again, keeping your eyes closed, take a nice, gentle breath in and exhale, and turn your awareness to your deep thinking, to your mind. Hopefully, it's a little bit more calm now. And just notice any insights that are present. Perhaps you're noticing a pattern. Perhaps you're spontaneously offering yourself some guidance or some tips, or nothing else might be happening. Although when it's our mind, there's usually always some thoughts going. Hopefully it's a little bit calmer. Just be with your mind for a little bit, your heart-based mind, your deep thinking. And just notice the wisdom that's present in your mind right now and trust whatever is happening. Okay, still with your eyes closed, breathing gently, relaxed. Let's just honor the 4 wisdom ways of knowing, or the windows of wisdom. Take a moment to touch your body in some way that feels congruent, and just touch in with your senses and your body's way of knowing. The movement may have completed that I started you with, or you might have done it all the way through. Just, yes, my body knows. My body has wisdom. You can touch your heart and be aware of, yeah, these are the feelings that are present, the wisdom of my heart, the truth of my feelings. And honor any images that appeared, any imagery or memory that came. And then also honor anything from your deep thinking that might have emerged. Now, if you're not doing the gesture or movement that you began with in this journey, I invite you to pick it back up gently. Be moving your body, whether it's swaying or some gesture with your hands or your feet. Very subtle, or you can move more. Just let yourself come back into the gestures or the movement that began your journey. Choice-based, whatever you'd like to do or not do. And then, keeping your eyes closed, I invite you to retrieve out of your back pocket that question or issue or theme that you brought to yourself at the beginning of this journey, and just hold it to your heart. You don't need to figure anything out. Your strategic mind does not have to give you an answer. Continue to be in your movement, and having opened more connection to your ways of knowing, just hold gently the question or theme in your heart. Just be aware if anything emerges. You might have some insight. You might even give yourself a wise answer, or nothing at all, and that's totally fine. So just be quietly with your question or theme, holding it to your heart for the next bit of time. And if you notice anything that emerges as insight or support, then when you're ready, you can gently come out of the journey and take some time to write. I'll invite all of us now to finish. So thank yourself, your courage to do this journey, your wisdom ways of knowing experiential journey, to connect to your inner wisdom. And then gently open your eyes. And I want to invite you for a couple of minutes to have some reflection and journaling time, or some just sitting quiet and being with. If you have a sketch pad, some people like to sketch. So I'll come back to you in a few minutes. And those of you watching this as a replay, of course, you can pause the video and take all the time you need to continue writing and journaling if you'd like to. So I'm going to give you a very simple completion threshold practice to this webinar before we go into the resource PDF that I'm going to give you, as well as a Q&A. And I want to remind you, thresholds are really important because they help you consciously with self-awareness. Remember the quote I began with from Deepak Chopra about self-awareness. And when we make thresholds, we're tracking, I'm moving from one experience to another, or one state of consciousness to another. I gave you a threshold practice to begin taking you on this journey with this webinar. Now I'd like to do a very simple completion threshold practice for all of us. So if you're still writing, you can ignore me and go back to this after, but I invite most of us to come on who are live to do this, which is invite you to, with your eyes open now, if it feels congruent with your body, make a gesture of gathering whatever you have received. It might be gathering it from the back or from below or from above, just a very simple gathering of your experiences, whether it was something overtly from the practice I gave you, or just insights or some change in your body. Just gather to yourself whatever is right for you to take from this experience that will serve you and support you. Gather it and bring it into your heart. And you don't have to understand or consciously know. It's just like, yeah, I'm gathering the resources. I'm gathering the gifts. I'm gathering. Bring them into your heart. And invite you to take a nice deep breath, bringing energy up from the earth. And as you exhale, you might touch your heart and say thank you. Thank you to yourself for your courage and your self-compassion to explore how to tap into your inner wisdom and how to expand your self-awareness. Thank you. Very simple threshold practice. Okay, so now I want to give you some additional next step resources to support your access to your inner wisdom. The 4 windows of wisdom, the ways of knowing, and some other things. So I'm going to give you a PDF right now that you can download. Go ahead and download that. It's a simple PDF with a whole bunch of resources for you. I'm going to mention a few of them to you, okay, as we go through. And you can save that onto whatever device you want as you have it. So one of the first resources for you to know about is my free Windows of Wisdom 7-day challenge. And there's a link in your resources PDF, and it's really, really great. It's a 7-day challenge where I invite you to develop more connection to your windows of wisdom, your ways of knowing. And what it is short guided journeys that let you learn a quick and easy skill to expand your mindset and gain access to more of your innate wisdom. Every day for 7 days, I'll give you a connection to a guided journey. They're less than 10 minutes each. And so you get 4 journeys with your windows of wisdom, and then you get a combination twice. So go ahead and sign up for that. It's free, and it lets you practice more of the windows of wisdom or the wisdom ways of knowing. Also, on my website, True Nature Consulting, there's a link for you there in the PDF. I have a whole bunch of free resources with guided journeys and journal prompts. At this point, there's at least 12 up. There's more coming. And when you go to this part of my website, you just click on any of those and you'll be taken to the link to download the journey. And it's other ways you can continue to access more of your inner wisdom. And then also have a YouTube channel. The link for it is on your PDF, your video your resources. And there's a whole bunch. There's over 35 videos up right now, and there's more coming. Every Tuesday, I put a new video up. You can subscribe to the channel if you want. You can go and look at all my playlists. Whole bunch of support for you for your inner work and your transformation journey. But 4 in particular that I want to highlight for you, and there are links in your PDF for this, is remedies from your wisdom ways of knowing. So I guide you through a senses remedy for your inner escapist. That's one of the wounded inner figures. A feelings remedy for your inner wounded child. We all have one of those, and that's another one of our inner figures that needs some support. A deep imagination remedy for your inner denier. Your inner denier is also a wounded inner figure that most of us carry. We want to love them all. There's nothing wrong with them, but they put us under a spell. And also a deep thinking remedy for your inner critic. Hello. Who doesn't have one of those as a huge character? Okay. So there you have it. You can go ahead and click on any of those in your PDF resource. And then here we go. Now we're coming into Q&A time, and we'll give 5 or 10 minutes. And so those of you who are still live, you are so welcome to put something in the chat as a question. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. Okay. So do put any questions you have in the chat or comments. They're welcome, and I'll stay on the line for at least 5 more minutes. No questions, that's fine. Any of you need to step off, thank you so much for joining me. And do sign up in the PDF resource guide. You can sign up. I've got more videos, more webinars coming. One of the people just said, I have an inability to choose an ally, a process, a way. I'm overwhelmed with the riches, inability to decide. I don't know if you're speaking about the link with all the resources I gave you, but I do want to offer one thing is when we do feel overwhelmed, one of the go-to places is 3 simple breaths. Because what can happen when we feel overwhelmed or unable to decide is often there's so much going on in our minds, and that's common. There's nothing wrong with that. So we need to get ourselves centered. So for the one who asked this question or commented on that, I invite you to get into a quiet, safe space and just close your eyes and do 3 deep, calming breaths, particularly breathing up from the earth and letting the breath come into every cell of your being, and then exhaling what you don't need. Breathing up from the earth, second time, exhaling what you don't need. Breathing up from the earth, and then finally exhaling and sitting quietly with your eyes closed And then if you're trying to make a decision, one technique that can help is to just touch your heart gently after breathing 3 times with your eyes closed and just make a prayer. Please, heart, guide me, and just be gentle with yourself. So that's one possibility that's there. Okay, thank you for mentioning that, because it's something we all can struggle with. Oh, one of the questions that someone gave me before that I want to mention, because it's not coming into the chat, but it's a common question, is what if I don't see anything in my journeys, Sheila? And I always want to say, if you're not really familiar with doing guided imagery or guided journey work, sometimes it takes a couple of journeys to kind of get used to it. And what can happen is our strategic mind can get really busy and really sabotage your ability to have the journey with being able to track yourself. And that's common, so don't worry about it. But I would suggest that two things, you take into heart just your willingness to go on a guided journey is enough, because you're already changing your state of consciousness. You're already being willing to try something different, which is huge. And to also trust your imagery. Sometimes nothing's happening is exactly what needs to be happening. So sometimes with a journey, if I've gone into it and nothing's happened, I come out of it and say, well, what's right about nothing happening? Just be in this sort of proactive trusting yourself. And if you find you're frustrated because nothing seems to be happening, try doing a couple, I'd say 5 to 10 guided journeys. You can go to any of them in those resources I gave you and just try them out, because it may be that your psyche just needs to get used to doing guided journey work. So that's one possibility. Good. So the person who said, I can't decide, she just gave us another point in the chat where she recognized it was one of her inner figures who was telling her that she had to make the right choice. I don't know how it is for you, dear one. I don't want to analyze, but for me, it reminds me of my inner critic, who has a definite agenda about the right way to do things. So thanks for tracking that one. Great self-awareness, great self-tracking. Okay, dear ones, thank you also for being here. Really appreciate the precious gift of your time, and take good care of yourself really, really well, and trust yourself and how much inner wisdom you have. And you can break the spells of your limiting mindsets and tap into your inner wisdom.